I did it, fellas. I hit my Goodreads challenge. So my favorite books of the year. So basically the books that got 5 stars on Goodreads. I wanted to bring up some honorable mentions. The first honorable mention of the year, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald.
You see, I'm Gatsby.
Is one that I didn't super enjoy while reading it, but in retrospect, it was really nice to analyze. I absolutely love the aesthetic. We all know that 1920s New York is my favorite thing in the world, and this is literally the epitome of 1920s New York. I hadn't been spoiled, so the plot really unraveled itself really well in my eyes. I really like analyzing some controversial characters such as Daisy. I really do think there is variety. I think it's a very important commentary that can still kind of be applied to today. It's actually my new favorite classic of all times. Sorry, The Outsiders. The reason this isn't like a favorite is because I want it to age like a fine wine. I want to come back to this book in like 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years and see if I still love it just as much. The second thing is that I'm pretty sure my love of the movie, which is a fantastic movie, has changed my opinions on this book. I actually didn't read this in class. It was the first classic I've ever read not in class. My second honorable mention is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. The cover jacket is on the other side of my bed. The Cruel Prince. The reason, again, this isn't a favorite is I literally finished this book yesterday, so I don't want to give it a favorite books because I haven't had enough time to look back and be like, that is definitely a favorite book of mine. The thing about this book, it was also kind of a surprise. The description on the side of the book here is the most typical description of all times. If the description people of this book were trying to hit every single cliche YA trope there is, they succeeded. And then I finally picked it up because Haley in Bookland was like,
it's an urban fantasy and they go to and you have fairies that go to the mall.
And I was like, ooh, that seems interesting. And so I picked it up and I binge read it. We went to the city with my best friend and I read in the train and it was such a good time. I was so happy reading it. Characters in this book are so good. Most of the characters in this book, if not all of the characters in this book, are super morally gray, and that's what I love about books. I think Mary Sue characters are super overdone, and this book definitely breaks the mold. I am so excited for The Wicked King. Okay, let's get to the real tea. Let's get to my favorite books of the year. I'm very excited. Let's get this bread. We're gonna be counting down from 6 to 1. Number 6 on my list is Dear Martin by Nick Stone. I read a bunch of books that have to do with police brutality and racism in the United States, specifically in the YA genre, and this was the book that truly spoke out to me. You have this character called Justice McAllister, I think, and he's actually in speech and debate, and you follow him at school and the conversation he has with the kids and his interaction with his friends, and I absolutely loved it. I think for me it worked very well because I could almost relate to Justice in a way because he's in speech and debate. He's in this really competitive high school, so I could relate to the environment. Obviously, I cannot relate in any way to the experience, but that's what really drew me to the book. That's what really made me want to root for him. This is where I really could connect. I understood him. I loved how, because he's in speech and debate, you could kind of talk about the politics, but from the teenage point of view. And I think I'm so glad that these types of books are emerging and becoming such a big part of the YA and booktube and book community online because they're very important. Number 5. We're already at number 5. The 5th book on the list is Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. It is the concluding book to the Illuminae files. I'm very sad that this series is over. I think this series is the most creative book series in YA right now. It's basically a collection of files that retells this revolution, this rebellion, this situation that has happened. And it's told in a bunch of different ways. There's like video files that they describe. There's audio transcriptions, there's emails, there's text messages, and they all come together to tell this really complex story. It is insane the way these books are constructed. The characters are hilarious, they're diverse. There's an AI computer in this book, and he goes wacko, bro. It is so well written, and it just sends shivers down your spine. Ugh. Like, it's a great conclusion. It is my least favorite book in the Illuminae files. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. This is the only series I will prioritize the audiobook over actually reading the book. Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff literally stepped out of the box, okay? And they're out of the box, bro. They jumped out of that box. They're 15 feet away of the YA box, and it's still so good. Number 4 on my list. Ooh, this one's like a low-key controversial, I guess. Number 4 on my list is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I know that Colleen Hoover is kind of under fire right now because some of her books are a little controversial, but I personally read her books and didn't find like huge issues with them. I get that November 9th is edgy, but as long as she's not hurting anyone or discriminating against anyone, I'm fine with it. So I decided to keep going. I heard that It Ends With Us was really good, and I was in the mood for a happy sort of contemporary. Do not go into this book thinking it is a happy contemporary. This book blew my mind. I came into this story not knowing what it was about. I just came into this book knowing that a neurosurgeon and a ambitious business girl meet up, and that's their story. And you watch the relationship evolve in a sense, and that's really all you want to know while you go into this book. If you told yourself, I'm never reading a Colleen Hoover book again because of the weird stuff in her books, you're missing out. It talks about an issue, and I don't want to tell you what it is because I feel like if you know what this book talks about, it's gonna not ruin it, but it's gonna take away the sort of heartfelt blow of mind factor that I got. At the end of this book, when I realized what this book was about, I could not put the book down, and I felt so much for the characters. I felt so much for this relationship. I think the reason this book is so good is because you really relate to the character. You can really understand her dilemma. You can understand her situation. It's incredibly inspiring. It blew my mind. I still think of this book all the time. My third book on my list is Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. Look, I wanted this to be number 1, okay? I came into the year putting my money on the fact that this was going to be my favorite book of the year by far, just like Lord of Shadows was. I have an entire video as to why this book was just not, it was a letdown, and I know this sounds stupid because it's my number 3. I wanted this to be my number 1 by like such a large margin, and it didn't do that for me. Obviously, it's still number 3 because of the fact that 1, it's the sequel of Lord of Shadows and Lady Midnight, and those books are amazing, and 2, I still love the story, I still love the characters, I still love the way it's going. I'm still dead ass excited for The Wicked Powers and The Last Hours. I've been following this series since 2013. I don't think it'd be in me to put it anything but 3rd place or higher, just because it was still the story of Julian Blackthorne, my son, and all the Blackthorne siblings. It was still heart-wrenching. I still cried a lot. It's still my fave, okay? It's just not my fave of all the Shadowhunter books. I mean, actually, it probably does beat all the TMI books in my eyes. Number 2 is that was okay. Number 2 is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This book is really special because I heard what this book is about, and immediately I was like, I don't care what I'm reading. Everything is being put on pause so I can read this book. I absolutely freaking love this book. Why did she have 7 husbands? Who is Evelyn Hugo? Who is this magnificent person? Evelyn Hugo is basically this huge movie star from the 70s, 80s, 60s, you know, that era. She's kind of not a mysterious character in Hollywood, but people have always kind of had to make up what they think happened to her. Finally, a journalist is invited to interview and write a book of Evelyn Hugo's story. Evelyn Hugo is such an interesting character. Again, with the morally gray characters, she is pretty twisted in some ways, and she's self-made, which is kind of expected from a Slytherin-esque character, and it's so fascinating. Every single time we get to know a new husband, I'm like, ooh, what's this time? What's the story this time? And how does it all meld together? After I read the book, I wanted to look her up on Wikipedia and keep reading about her life, keep understanding what she's like, but she's a fictional character. It's like, you read this book and you're like, damn. You know, I want to be Evelyn Hugo, but of like the science world. Finally, Number 1, what is it gonna be? Oh my god, my favorite book of the year. That's insane. My favorite book of the year is actually kind of 2 books. Ooh. And that is Thunderhead and Scythe by Neal Schuester, man. Ooh, damn. These books are insane, and I'm kind of sad that not more people have read it. I have recommended this book to so many different people and to such a variety of people. I've recommended it to my parents, I've recommended it to some of my teachers, I've recommended it to students. I would literally have Stephen Hawking read this book. It's actually Thunderhead that got the 5 stars for this. Scythe was good, but it was a little slow for me, so don't let Scythe stop you. Keep reading. Thunderhead and Scythe basically takes place in a world where society no longer has death, and the world is governed by a giant AI computer. There seems to be patterns in my favorite books. Thunderhead gets so freaking good. The religious parallels, the philosophical implications, the moral implications of this book, the way this book makes you think. Definitely not in a point right now in society where death is no longer going to exist, but we're going places with technology right now in the world where humans are kind of becoming their own gods. I was just so shook. I'm not even Christian, bro. But when I saw those, I was like, that is genius. The Toll, which is the last book, I think, is coming out next year, which is so exciting. I mean, like, at this point, anything is fair game, you know? I have no idea where this series could go. Those are all my favorite books of the year. I'd love to hear what your favorite books of the year was. I'm gonna be talking about my least favorite books of the year tomorrow, so stay tuned. That video actually has more books, I think. Love that for us! Controversial content. I'm sorry that my bookshelf looks like absolute shit. I'm unhauling literally half of my bookshelf, so now my bookshelf looks like crap. And it still looks like I have billions of books. I'm Maya, thanks for watching, see you next time.